Hi, Kilo Charlie 1 Sierra Alpha here. Going just to have a quick discussion here about digital modes. Digital modes like FT8 have really grown in popularity over the last few years, and you get on any band, you hear them. And I've started with JT9 and JT65 probably 8 years ago. Then I lost interest for a while, and I got back into these digital modes earlier this year, and have been pretty active with FT8 ever since then. Logging 100 or so QSOs a month. Sometimes I'll get anxious and I'll sit here for a few hours and I'll do 100 in a day, but it's sort of fun. Most of my time is spent during the daylight hours, 15, 17, and 20 meters. And it's a great mode to learn how to transmit and listen on HF, but it does require a little bit of finesse, but not much. And lately, I've seen what I would be calling bad etiquette by some hams, and perhaps they're not. It's not their fault, but this is what I'm going to describe. And if you're one of those hams out there that are doing this, maybe go read some documents on digital modes and come up to speed on good etiquette. The first thing is the not completing the full QSO. A QSO ends when the station that calls CQ finally sends a closing message to the QSO. That closing message generally is accepted as RRR, or Roger, Roger, Roger. The ham answering the CQ will then respond to that RRR with a 73. So the sequence of what I've been brought up on in the JT modes is as follows. And as you can see, KC5RR is calling CQ at 15:27 and 15 seconds. I chime in about a second later when I answer his CQ at 15:27:31, and I transmit my call sign Kilo Charlie 1 Sierra Alpha to Kilo Charlie 5 Roger Roger, and my maiden square is FN31. He responds at 15:27:45 with a signal report of plus 07 dB, and that is at 15:27:45. I respond to that at 15:28, right on the dot, with a Roger, basically with a return of plus 03 dBs. He responds back to me with a Roger Roger 73. That could be a Roger Roger Roger, or it could be an RR73 as shown. I then respond at 15:28:30 seconds with a 73 back to him, and the QSO is then over. Now, most hams follow this sequence, but what I've seen being done is the station calling CQ would call CQ right after my signal report that I sent at 15:28 and 0 seconds. Now, there's two reasons or possible reasons for this. One, the person calling CQ didn't hear my signal report, which is understandable. Band conditions are bad, etc. But if this was the case, the CQ calling station should resend their signal report again. This is good etiquette. And try this 3 times, and if things don't follow the normal flow that I've described, then both parties just move on and chalk it up to bad conditions that they didn't hear each other. The other reason it could happen is the CQ caller is impatient and just wants to get as many QSOs as possible in during their time on the air. This is generally bad practice and bad etiquette and should be avoided. Send the whole sequence if you're going to operate in this mode. Now, when I opened this video, I had my screenshot of my desktop that I have with JT65 running along with JT Alert. Now, JT Alert is an add-on program for JT65, and it operates with WSJT as well. And JT Alert basically gives you these little green license plates over there in the lower right-hand corner of the windows, and those are color coded that I've set up. When they're green, those are folks calling CQ. The ones that are gray are ones that I've worked before and I would not probably work them again for a while. So I would then click on one of the green license plates that was requesting a CQ, provided it didn't say DX if it was a North American ham, etc. Sometimes you make that mistake and you don't see that they're calling DX and not just CQ. But in any case, you call those and you have your conversation and you go through the Q cell like I described in the last section, and they end with a 73. But occasionally when you're in this mode of carrying on a Q cell with somebody else, you'll have what I would call a Budinsky. And that's a person that sort of butts in and starts calling CQ to me, which I'm not calling CQ. I don't expect to answer anybody. But they'll show up in the lower left and right areas of that JT alert screen. And they'll be calling CQ to me, wanting me to answer them. And I'm in the middle of a QSO with somebody else. I really believe this is bad etiquette. You know, wait your turn. If you really want to call CQ, call CQ. Don't be a Budinsky and get in on somebody else's conversation. Just find it really bad practice. I've personally messaged some people for doing that. It's like, hey, you know, I was sort of in the conversation with somebody else. Don't do that. Anyways, that's my opinion, and I think it's bad etiquette to butt in like that. Okay, so I'm not sure if everybody, I'm quite sure most hams that operate in FT8 mode or any of the JT modes know what the columns mean, but I want to sort of break it down so everybody gets a common grounding of what these columns mean. So the first column is the time of day. So I'll start at that one that starts at the top from KP4IA from NY9G. That's at 15:31:45 or 15 hours, 31 minutes, and 45 seconds. The signal report is the minus 12 dB. That 0.1 S 0.1 seconds off from the standard time. And the 1398 is the frequency offset. I'm not exactly sure what the tilde sign is all about. I think that's just a demarcation point from one column to when you get to call signs. And then it's NY9G is sending something to KP4IA. So the sender is NY9G. And he's sending a minus 0.8 dB. Now, what's interesting is the timing. And for any of these modes to work right, timing has to be very accurate. And in this case here, 0.1 seconds off isn't bad. 0 is perfect. 0.3 isn't bad. This one's a minus 0.3, so it's happening too soon before the clock. But what's interesting is this one. And I don't mean to embarrass Kilo 4 Sierra Charlie Tango, but you need to adjust your clock. It's off by 2 seconds. And you could hear this. You could hear him transmitting a full 2 seconds before you were supposed to start transmitting. And I would have sent the person an email, but I decided against it and just put this out there. So set your clocks. And you may ask, how do you set your clocks? Well, it's pretty easy. If you're running Windows, go to this website and download the program Dimension 4. Once it's installed, it looks a little bit like this. You basically select the server that you want to synchronize to, and then you say sync now. And you can set it up to sync every 30 minutes, every 15 minutes, once a day. I believe I have mine set to synchronize every 30 minutes. So the worst my clock could drift over 30 minutes is probably 0.1 seconds. So generally I am pretty much on time when it comes time to transmit and receive with FT8. Hopefully this helps people understand how to operate properly with good etiquette on FT8 modes. This is Kilo Charlie 1 Sierra Alpha.